My guest today is Lagos-based rights lawyer Malachy Ugwumadu. Firstly, we want to ask, what are your reactions to the recent killings by herdsmen in Benue State?
Well, let me first of all put on record the very emotional aspect of it, that my heart goes out to the families of the victims of that inexplicable madness in our country now. Our own organization, the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, which I lead today, also commiserates with the people of Benue State. Having said that, it is to remind Nigerians that this is one crisis too many. It has been a recurrent decimal, one that has Benue State had to contend with from one successive government after the other, arising from the inability of the government itself to create a harmonious environment for the coexistence of all and sundry. Talking about my reaction, it was one of very sad, sober moment, one in which we were not confused, that a very bad commentary in the entire experience of this country. One that exposes us not just as vulnerable people, but people who are now governed by persons qualified and empowered to engage in wanton impunity. Impunity thrives when serious, heinous crime occurs and nothing happens to the perpetrators. It emboldens the same criminals, no less those who admire their escapees, to do more in the full realization that nothing will happen. And this brings me to why we feel that this one should not just evaporate as usual. 50 innocent Nigerians cut down in their prime with no offense attached or attributable to them, and by no mistake of theirs. 50, including women and children, on such an unholy hour and a very 1st of January. So, as a country, we need to rise to the occasion. Mr. President must come out of his comfort zones, go beyond the rhetorics that usually characterize the response of government, and then make a categorical statement, particularly with respect to the nefarious activities of these herdsmen, or those who hide under the cover of herdsmen and then pursue its strategy to the letter. Must pursue it, because I don't know what else will happen after 50 innocent souls. And don't forget, I think 2 days ago there was an additional 10, and we're still counting, with pockets of other incidents of violence in places where you cannot easily verify.
What's your take on the anti-grazing bill, which is an issue of controversy in the state?
Now, Nigeria is a society regulated and governed by law. Those laws can be acts of National Assembly, in which case it is an act. It could be laws of respective states, of the federating states, federating units of the country, which are aptly referred as law, and which includes these anti-grazing laws of Benue State. It could be bylaws, legislations passed by local government, and other forms of subsidiary laws and regulations, and so on and so forth. The law is supposed to be a response to deal with the perennial crisis of violent attacks arising from the grazing activities of herdsmen, specifically in destroying properties, farm lands of farmers and indigents. But it seems as though that it has not adequately taken care of the dynamics or characterization of the crisis in Benue State. But whatever it is, our own concern is that no person is above the law. As of today, the law is the anti-grazing law of Benue State. Whoever does not like it, particularly the Native Allah, as we understand them, need to do a lot more than what they are doing now in mobilizing and ensuring that either there is an amendment to that law or there is an outright repeal of that law, or indeed goes to court to challenge the aspects of the legislation that you don't like. No person is above the law. Ignorance of the law, too, is not an excuse. And once the law is there, by the principle of rule of law, you are expected to be under that law and be submissive and observe that law. Once it is not obeyed, and in that infraction, crimes are committed, you face the music. So it's immaterial whether a particular section or persons or group of persons are not comfortable with the law. What is an issue is there a law? Has the law been breached? Were criminal offenses committed in the infraction of that law? Once that happens, you handle it. If you fail to handle it, you empower very many other dissidents in the society who are disposed to run foul of that law. And that cannot be, you are unwittingly creating a very chaotic environment. And once that happens, you lose control, and the consequence is this massive killing, in which the governor, who is the chief security officer, looks woebegone, crestfallen, completely demobilized. I think the wife crowned it yesterday by weeping to say we are helpless. If the governor is helpless, how much more the vulnerable, poor, weak members of that society? Section 33 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, guarantees the right of every Nigerian, no less Benue indigents, who are now killed on a daily basis, to life. Their right to life is protected under that fundamental right section of the Constitution, under Chapter 4, from Section 33 up to Section 44. Now, to tell you the preeminence of that right that has now been breached violently, is that it is the first recognized fundamental right under Section 33, your right to life. Indeed, every other right accruable to you and I, by reason of our humanity, derives from that right. And the governments all over the world, including the government of Nigeria, under Section 14, Subsection 2b, declares that the welfare and security of individual members of the society shall be the primary purpose of governance. So, on that score, the CHR that I lead has issued statements. We have activated our members over there to move in as swiftly as possible and document the clear cases of violations of right there, and then let us be able to carry it on from there by way of our documentations and actions. And I must tell you, this is concluding on this call, that it is not just about the Constitution. There are so many other human rights legal instruments, including the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and so on and so forth, to which Nigeria is a signatory, that abhors and condemns what we have just witnessed.
Even with all of these events that have occurred and the killings, the president is yet to declare Fulani Herdsmen as a group, a terrorist group, a terrorist organization. Is there a reason for this?
Some groups of bandits unleashed mayhem in Rivers State about the same time the Benue havoc was committed. There was deployment of soldiers, if you like, a joint operation. As at about 48 hours ago, or less than that, the alleged leader of that gang was mounted down. That was swift. Now, the danger in this protracted attempt to deal with such crisis is that it consolidates. That was the challenge we had with Boko Haram. In the first 1 week, the Nigerian country was in the state of denial. God bless her soul, Akunyelu was the Minister of Information then, and I was personally in pain that they could not properly profile that crisis, within which time a group of ragtag militants, in the form of Boko Haram, were able to move over 200 schoolgirls. That happened. Here, it has taken longer than that for the government to, 50 souls wiped out. Now, what does it help? You call it terrorist group or not, what is important in nation building is to activate the judicial process. First, the security agencies must be able to apprehend, if not all, most of the perpetrators in good time, in record time. They must not be extrajudicially killed. They must be subjected to the rule of law, given due trials, and if convicted, adequately punished. It's only at that point that the principle of deterrence can play out, where Nigerians can sleep with their two eyes closed. Anything short of that, you're encouraging further attacks. And that's what we're witnessing. Now, the president directed the IG to relocate to. Now, this indiscretion of first assigning that huge assignment to the police as against the military, because it's a declaration of war. If a people can come to a state, sack an entire village or two, kill as many as 50, retreat, come back, even when there were notices and early warnings. I hope you note that. Because the governor had complained that we saw this coming, we wrote to the presidency, we wrote to the DG of SSS, we wrote to the chief of army staff, and all the security agencies. Yet, it happened. The only way to tackle that is for the state to rise above that level of crisis. These people who are running amok with ideas that can only fly in banana republics cannot come here and destabilize us. That is not happening. And once it's not happening, we're harvesting the full implication of such indiscretion.
Thank you very much, sir, for granting us this few minutes to talk with you. Thank you.